Hello and welcome to the Fire Chief's video message for February 2022. I'm at Station 32 again with Pete. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Hey, Chief, how you doing? Good to see you.
So we're middle of February now. We're aiming towards the spring time frame. We've had a little bit of cold weather, but hopefully the springs will be right around the corner.
We certainly had some weather, and that has affected, impacted us on some of our responses, and hopefully getting out of the pandemic here. But the weather certainly has been a factor.
Indeed, indeed, and about a week ago, the community, the fire service family in the state of Maryland and the greater region came together and supported our brothers and sisters in the Baltimore City Fire Department after the enormous and significant loss from the fire on January 24th on South Stricker Street. That was a devastating event for sure.
Yeah, of course, the fire and the line of duty death, and we had some of our investigators and our TRT went up to assist with the beginning of the investigation, but certainly close to home, not only was it Maryland, but we had one of our own, a volunteer who's also a career firefighter in Baltimore, was one of those that lost his life. But a lot of hundreds of our people participated, certainly apparatus and personnel.
And as you talked about, the event on that roughly 6 o'clock on that Monday morning, middle of the row, 3-story row house, townhouse, significant fire conditions, multiple level collapse or a early collapse within the first 3 to 5 minutes, and trapped 4 folks, 3 from engine 14 and 1 from truck 23. The ultimate passing of Lieutenant Buttram from truck 23, Lieutenant Sadler, Kelsey Sadler from engine 14, and then firefighter paramedic Kenny Lacayo from engine 14. And firefighter John McMaster was a part of engine 14, was rescued, treated at shock trauma, and is recovering with his injuries. But the loss of 3 folks in one incident, and some of the complexities revolving around the extrication of and the work post the fire was immense. And as you outlined, the Baltimore City Fire Department and the ATF asked for some assistance through Tech Rescue, and that started on Monday, materialized on Tuesday, and continued on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with some folks there assisting in the shoring and the excavation towards the basement of that unit. You mentioned that Kenny was a Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad member, had been there for 10 years, having graduated from Wheaton High School, and had been a long part of, most recently, the Friday night crew here at Wheaton, so there was a lot of ties. Let's talk about that show of support on backfilling of Baltimore City on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, of course, locally there was a little bit of media attention at the Wheaton because of the fact of his association area being a life member and very well known and popular. Obviously, he was passionate about the fire service. He was a career firefighter in Baltimore, but certainly Wheaton was all in. And then we also had a number of our apparatus, but that moved around to make sure that we were covered, as hundreds of our people participated. Recruit class, as an example, and many others, many others, went not only to the viewings, which were the day before, but also filled in at the Baltimore stations. We had about 20 or 25 people up there.
And as you outlined, it was a multiple day event with viewings on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, with the service on Wednesday. The planning request started early, and as has been done for us in Montgomery County, we've assisted Prince George's County a couple of times, that the regional departments assist, and the Baltimore request was to backfill all of the operational personnel. So 30-some engines, a little over a dozen trucks, 40 to 50 EMS units. So resources from across the state where assembled at 5 a.m. in the parking lot at M&T Bank to assist Baltimore City, and that had a extended reach, as that resulted in some MCFRS units, career and volunteer, being part of the backfill in the city. That extended to some MCFRS units, career and volunteer, attending the service. Significantly, all of the Wheaton folks attending as a support of Kenny's Wheaton family and Kenny's family, as well as resources from MCFRS on duty and off duty for the services at the convention center, and then the backfill of the positions here in the county that were created by those units that went up. And I made a omission in my email, and I did not identify the folks that did help in the county backfill. So my apologies to those folks, some from Rockville, some from other LFRDs that helped backfill those positions. But there was a unit from Allegheny County sitting in the station with engine 715. There were units from all over the state, and a good number of units from the District of Columbia that came up and assisted in that operational coverage for the city. So that was a great showing of support and a coordination effort with the radio cache and a lot of the IMT assisting as well. So great work done by everybody that day.
It's probably worth noting that it's the first time in history, I believe 225 years or whatever, Baltimore City Fire Department, first time in the history of their department that has occurred, where every one of their stations were staffed by mutual aid assistance, and so that all of their people could attend the funeral.
Indeed, amazing show of support, and it is a part of the family to be able to be together and be supportive of each other with such an amazing event at the conference center.
And Chief, just an observation I think it's worth mentioning is the shout out to the communications folks at Baltimore. Of course, it seems seamless to me listening, coordinating all those out of county and out of city units, I guess. And it seemed to go pretty well, so good job by them, and certainly, that was a challenging.
Oh, definitely a challenge, and there were some struggles, and as the day settled and things got, past the beginning couple hours, things were rolling along like clockwork, as some would say. So appreciation to everybody who assisted in that, and as we will continue to support our Baltimore family members, and all of the others, as this is not a one-time event. This will be with those three families, all of their coworkers for many years to come, and the membership and the support of MCFRS remains. We started talking off a second ago, COVID, and today is a really great day. We're videotaping this on February 9th, and today we are at 11 total folks out sick with COVID. That number is almost at the single digits, getting pretty close. As that picture shows you today, the beginning of December, we were already in the 20s, and this is February 9th. This number puts us back about to the early November timeframe, so practically a full 3 months ago, and we say that we're past the surge number 3, and it's still with us here though, and we still have to be ever vigilant. What are you seeing in your observations? Yeah,
so as you mentioned the surges, of course we've been into this pandemic for a couple of years now, and we've, I guess at the height of this, we had hundreds of people that were out, and as you mentioned, the most recent surge, I guess this number 11, probably wasn't seen since last November, when kind of after the Thanksgiving, I guess it was, when we started seeing some double-digit numbers. But again, this is hopefully we're heading in the right direction for sure.
You're right, indeed. And so we talked at depth last time about the numbers and the post Thanksgiving, or the real surge that we saw post-Christmas. And this chart here shows where we were at that 168, just shy of 170 back on January 3rd. And as you see this taper off down to the right, all the way down to today's number, these numbers show us that it's still here with us. It's still something in the community. We've been saying that these risk control procedures are still in place. The county's mask mandate is in place through the month of February, and that'll be reevaluated. We've made some adjustments in the last about 2 weeks on some of the station hazard management controls. The masks are still with us throughout all operations in stations and work sites. But we don't know what the next step will be, the next phase will be. So please, everybody, keep diligently attentive to the novel hazard brief, the information on that, wear your PPE, contact FROMs, engage with the support infrastructure to take care of yourself and our coworkers, and do those basic sanitations, hand washing, and calling out when you're not feeling well. As you know, the Omicron variant was, described by most as very mild, if any, symptoms. So we don't know what the next one will be, and usually we'll be, several weeks behind being able to identify it as X or Y when the trending occurs.
And all the variants have been slightly different, as you said, Omicron being very contagious, but seem to be milder symptoms. But also, I think we're reflective of the community. The community is very focused on it now, where people are wearing the masks, restaurants out in the public and so forth. There's home testing, masks and tests are now available. Numerous testing sites, throughout the county. So, we are also somewhat reflective of what's going on in the community as well. So those numbers, depending on what you're looking at, are improving also.
Absolutely. And let's talk about improving. Is EMS 700 is still in place. That is a activity where the hospital capacity numbers are improving, and some of the drop time or wall times are definitely improving. But the balancing of patients across the hospitals is still very important. As 4 units sitting at one hospital when just 5 more minutes away, there's nobody sitting at the next one down, is critical. And that's what obviously the capacity function of EMS 700 is providing. And it also benefits us and has that evaluation of other alternative destinations or alternative options to see if a patient is eligible for one of those. So EMS 700 is still with us, and that's a very unique segue to the next big topic. Is we're just 1 month away from the release of the executive's FY23 operating budget proposal. That's on March 15th. A lot of great work is ongoing by headquarters staff and support staff as we're getting into the final phase of that development. Don't have information yet to share about that, but a lot of stuff going on, and we will have much more information in our next video about the operating budget.
Well, I know some of the briefings and discussions along the way that I've been looking at. I think our budget is somewhere in 230 million, something like that, which seems to be a proposed slight increase, I think. And of course, there's all kinds of variables in there of staffing and some slight increases, but improvements of some innovation and technology, as well as a lot of EMS things. Again, just my observations, in the back of the room. But so it's I think going to be a good budget for you and for the department, for the community. So looking forward to crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Yep, and there was a communication the other day about the IAFF's discussions and bargaining activities. That's preparing for ratification, so that's a step towards and a sign of the contract developments being finalized, and that's progressing towards transmitting to council as well. So definitely a lot of good work, a lot of hard work by folks in the development of contracts as well as the operating budget and the continuation. So please keep tuned for that information on the budget. we've been busy on activities. Chief Davis and Chief Bailey have a couple things upcoming about 2 alarm fires, significant incidences. We just had another one on River Road just over the weekend, right?
Yeah, in fact, the day of the line of duty deaths in Baltimore, a couple hours earlier, we had, in fact, a 2-alarm fire on Sabbath Court, and about 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, the fire in Baltimore occurred around 6 o'clock, I think. And yes, we've had a couple of 2-alarm fires. Most recently, as you mentioned, the one at the Kenwood Apartments, which is in the 5100 block of River Road. And not much of a fire per se, but certainly a close call for the one of the occupants who was bedridden. They did have a significant fire in that apartment.
Yep. So again, roughly 16-story apartment building. You got a lot of resident and occupant issues to address, and it's roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock on a weekend morning. You know the building's going to be relatively high density, occupant load. So definitely a lot of work to be done by the folks on the B shift and the 2nd Battalion volunteers, plus all of those from around the county that came to that incident. So great work on Kenwood, as well as a couple of the other ones, Carousel Court, as you said, Sabbath. Sabbath was a well-involved fire at 4+ o'clock in the morning with occupants that had exited the building, and rural water supply situation. Well established, took a little bit to do. They did the attack tanker operations, supported the Clapboard Siamese, and did a roughly 3,000-foot relay and established that. So great combination effort on Sabbath to address the water supply through the relay, and some pretty interesting work that has come out in the last few weeks from Chief Davis and Captain Lip about the actual available fire flow with 1,800, 2,000 feet, 5,400 feet, full mile, what you can do, and what the real capacity is there versus the imposed 1,000-foot limit that we had been operating under previously. So a lot of updated information that everybody needs to be attuned to and keeping track of, but Sabbath was a perfect example.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that the Kenwood Apartments is an older building and was non-sprinklered. Yep. And certainly offers some challenges there, and also an older alarm where the whole building sounds, and a lot of those occupants were older or had mobility issues and needed assistance. So very, very smart move early, calling for that second alarm to get those people there to help.
And the incident on Maple Avenue a couple weeks prior to that is another unique situation. Top floor fire in the unit, occupant exited to the balcony and now is confined to the balcony with no way off the balcony, and top floor unit fire. And the balcony door failed right at the timing upon which the hose line was coming in from the hallway. So great operation there, but definitely benefit of luck and timing in the operations on that event.
And also, you mentioned the Silver Spring incident. Certainly the experience that they've had. It's not the first time they've been to that building, so there are some unique challenges with that particular building and the layout. So certainly they knew what they were doing, and as you said, a lot of things fell in place that had a fairly positive outcome.
Yep. So great work by everybody, and again, as soon as we get a little bit past, we're supposedly going to be in the 50s this week, middle of February, so springtime and good weather's coming. You were showing some pictures the other day of folks out there in the 30s doing a water supply drill. So keep at it, keep out there training, and use all opportunities you have to work on the skills as company operations and multi-company drills.
And Chief, it made me think of, we never know what you're going to get out there. Certainly we had a pretty challenging event, fire in a parking garage in Silver Spring. So again, that was just, people would say, it's just a couple cars on fire, but many challenges. And again, that had a fairly positive outcome, but very visible to that downtown community of Silver Spring. And, they did a good job on that as well too. A lot of challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to wrap up this month's video and again impress upon everybody to be attentive with and keep the COVID risk controls in the forefront of your mind. Wear the mask, keep your distance, use the PPE on calls, and contact FROMs at all times and any concerns. And as we continue looking forward to better weather, as the cold will still be around, there may even be some snow this weekend is what they're forecasting again. So until next month's video, take care, stay warm, and be safe.